The Arizona Cardinals were one of my biggest sleeper teams entering the 2024 NFL season. I loved the way that they drafted. I thought Jonathan Gannon and Pets are a really good duo that could help get this team over the top, and I thought they could contend for a wild card spot. And while they did finish 8-9 and finish on 500 and were pretty competitive all year long, there still are quite a few concerns about this Cardinals team moving forward. Defensive line really not very talented last year, and they had some struggles. I like the pick of Darius Robinson, but he missed almost his entire season and really hurt them down the stretch. Another move that I am a little bit concerned about is Kyler Murray. Down the stretch of the season, Kyler really struggled, just didn't look like himself towards the end of the year. So what can Arizona do to try and fix this, try and get into the playoffs, and maybe even win the NFC West that I think could be wide open in the 2025 NFL season? That's what we're going to be attempting to do in today's mock draft. If you guys are new to the channel, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Helps me out a ton. This 7-round mock draft series was an original idea, and it's been an absolute blast going through these with you guys. I've had an absolute blast. If you guys can leave a like, just lets me know you guys do enjoy this type of content. Also, check the Patreon page where you guys can find my full big board and scouting evaluation for only $5 a month. And my Patreon, it'll be linked down below. You can get my full big board, scouting reports, player comparisons, stats, combine and pro day numbers. If you want it, you can find it on my draft guide. And I think it's one of the best resources you can find on the market. Hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you never miss out on a video. But let's kick off with the Arizona Cardinals at pick number 16. Here at pick number 16, if you guys are new to the channel, we are not drafting the same players multiple times in the first round. So guys like Mike Green, he's off the board this series. Ashton Genty, I think, is on the board. He wouldn't be a player I would take. Tyler Warren is off the board. So I'm kind of looking at two different players here for the defensive line. The first guy I'm looking at is Walter Nolen out of Ole Miss. One of my favorite prospects in the class. I believe in my defensive tackle rankings video over the summer, I said Walter Nolen was my big sleeper, and I thought he was one of the best athletes I've ever seen on the defensive line. I stand by that take 1 year later. He was absolutely incredible for the Rebels this past season. He's my number 2 defensive tackle, my number 9 overall prospect. Had a 4.3% missed tackle rate with only 2 tackles all season, which is a really solid number. Had a 10.9% pass rush win rate with 6 sacks, 35 pressures on the season. This just reminds me of Justin Madubuike. The way that he moves, his athleticism, the active hands that he shows, he is the ideal 3-tech in draft class. If you're not getting Mason Graham, Walter Nolen, I think, is far from consolation prize. He is an unbelievable prospect, and I wouldn't be shocked by the end of this cycle. He is the first defensive tackle taken off the board. I think he is that good and that special of a player because what I think makes him so unique, he's such a good run defender, and he's still developing as a pass rusher, and he still was able to create a ton of pressure this past season. I think he's a phenomenal player. And I also think Shamar Stewart, the edge rusher from Texas A&M, is another phenomenal player. Shamar Stewart is my number 12 overall prospect. I love what he brings to the table. Again, in terms of his athleticism, he's 6'5", 281 pounds with 34.25-inch arms and 83.5-inch wingspan. Got insane measurables, but he doesn't move like an interior defensive lineman. This is a edge rusher that can play 3-4 defensive end. I think he can play 4-3 edge. He's so athletic. His bend is phenomenal. He's a good run defender. What I think you worry about, though, is going to be the lack of production. Only 1.5 sacks in each of the last 2 years. He had 15 run stops this year, but a 23% missed tackle. The ceiling is very high with Shamar Stewart, but I think it's a really low floor. And I think you could just be drafting Darius Robinson here at 16. We got last year. I like Darius Robinson a ton. I don't think there's another Walter Nolen in this class. I'm going to take the high floor ceiling of a guy like Walter Nolen and improve the interior, which I think is by far this Cardinals team's biggest weakness. I'm going to go with Walter Nolen here at 16. Here at pick 47, having only 5 draft picks in this class makes it really difficult to do what I want to do for this Cardinals team, which is improve the trenches. But Denver is giving us a call, and they want to move up just 4 spots, and they're willing to give us pick 121. I'm going to make this move without question. We add an extra 4th-round pick that I think could be very valuable for us when looking to improve this team, improve the line. I think we can get some great value there. We just moved back 4 spots. There's a player I have my eye on. Think he might be on the board there. I'm going to make this move with Denver and move back just 4 spots. And sure enough, here at pick number 51, the player that I have my eye on is still available. I'm going to go with Tuimoloau out of Ohio State. This is a guy that has been all over the draft. Like he was a top 10 pick at one point in the offseason, ended up falling down to maybe the 3rd, 4th round. I think he's settled in firmly as a 2nd-round pick. This is a guy that I thought had a real chance of coming out in last year's draft class, decided to go back to school. I think he made the decision for himself. Had a really good season, 38 tackles, 39 run stops, 51 pressures, 15 sacks, 12.4% pass rush win rate. He had a really good year for the Buckeyes, helped them win a national championship. And I love his power profile. I think that's the area of his game that you really love. He's got a strong bull rush, and he's going to win off the line of scrimmage with his power. 6'4", 270 pounds, very powerful rusher, and he does a good job of converting speed to power. He's got a quick first step off the line of scrimmage. He's really strong in his upper body, and I think he's got a really strong bull rush. He's very controlled with his movements, never seems to be off balance. He does a nice job of deflecting passes, made some plays in coverage even, which I liked. The spin move does show up from time to time, but overall, I think the biggest concern people are going to have, he does need to improve consistency. I think he needs to be more active with his hands. He needs to improve in terms of countering with pass rush moves, because I don't think that's an area that he has in his game at this point in time. There, you see the potential, but it needs to be more consistent. But I think he showed me a little bit more faith that I would be willing to draft this than he did last year. Was not a fan of his tape in 2024 or 2023, excuse me. I thought his 2024 tape was much better. He looked very solid. I think he would be a really good fit on this defensive line. So I'm going to take a chance here on Tuimoloau and get another pass rusher for this defensive. Here at pick number 78, I am going to move back 8 spots. Now, this is a big risk. The player that I want on the board is here, but I want to pick up that extra 5th rounder. I want to get some extra draft capital in here. So we're going to move back 8 spots. Hope that he falls to us at 86, and we're going to pick up pick 159 in the process. So adding 2 extra draft picks in this class so far, I think is a big W, and I'm going to make this move for the Cardinals. Miraculously, here at pick number 86, the player that I wanted all along has fallen right into our laps, and that is going to be LSU right tackle Emory Jones. Emory Jones is a really tough evaluation because if you go back and watch his 2023 tape, this is a guy that people had as the number 1 tackle coming into the class, even ahead of Will Campbell. Now, I never really got that far, but he was my preseason number 3 offensive tackle behind Kelvin Banks, behind Will Campbell, because his tackle tape is really good. This past season, the production took a major dip. He allowed 28 pressures, 23 hurries on the season, had a 61 run blocking grade, a 67.4 pass blocking grade. Really did not look anywhere near as dominant as he did the year prior, but I do think the upside is still there. Now, a lot of people are going to talk about Emory Jones potentially a guard. I don't mind that. I think he definitely has the athleticism to kick inside, play right guard for you at the next level. He's got the length, though, to play tackle. 34 3/4 inch arms, 82 5/8 inch wingspan. He's got long arms to be you can keep him at tackle and just see what happens. If you go back to kind of the way the scheme changed, with Jaden Daniels, they ran the football a lot of designed quarterback run. This past year, the number of run snaps took a big dip. That's what Emory Jones does best. He's a very good run blocker. He can get out in space, make some difference-making plays. I'm a big fan of that. He's got good footwork. He has good hand placement, strong in his upper body, can be a little bit heavy on his feet, does need to improve some of the technical aspects of pass protection. But for a Cardinals team that runs the ball as much as they do, I'm not sure there is a better scheme fit than Emory Jones. So I'm going to take a flyer on him here at 86. I feel like a lot of people in the draft community are down on him, but I think he could be a really good fit for this, a really good run blocker. And I'm going to draft him with the intention of playing him at right tackle. We're going to cut Jonah Williams, try and save some money. And I'm going to take Emory Jones at 86. Here at pick number 114, I know this is going to give Cardinals fans PTSD drafting a linebacker, but I am going to take one. With Kyzir White being a free agent, Chris Barnes being a free agent, I do think you could look to upgrade the middle of that defense. I think you could probably bring back Kyzir White on a good contract, but this is a good linebacker group on the board here, and I think you can get some playmakers here. The guy I have my eye on right now is going to be Chris Paul from Ole Miss. He's the number 104 player on the consensus board. I am much higher than that on Chris Paul. He's my number 49 prospect. I just don't know what the league is going to think of him because he is a standard linebacker. This is a player that is 6 foot, 224 pounds. He's just an exceptional athlete. He flies around, makes plays. He's constantly in the pile trying to make a tackle. He's a really good blitzer. You can use him on stunts and bring him downhill. He's got the quickness to get into the backfield. He's a good run defender, reliable tackler. He's just not very good in coverage right now. He's undersized as well. He's at 224 pounds, so not the biggest guy. Seemed to get lost in coverage from time to time. But I think the athletic traits, you can't really teach that. I think his upside is tremendous. I got a second-round grade on him. I think the league will probably take him in the third to fourth round because of the question mark, but I love what Chris Paul can bring to the table. Demetrius Knight is also in play. I think he'll go higher than this is really what I think, just because I think and people are going to value his ability and coverage a little bit more. Ultimately, Chris Paul Jr. will be my pick here at 114. I'm not going to overthink it, and I'm going to take a player that I really love in this draft. Here at pick number 121, I am going to go on the interior of the offensive line. We took Emory Jones, who I think can be the right tackle of the future. They drafted Isaiah Adams last year, who I think you can play either at left or right guard. Will Hernandez being a free agent. I'm going to go with Clay Webb, though. I think he is one of the most underrated, undervalued prospects in the entire draft class, and I'm not really sure why. He's got everything you want to see from an athletic standpoint. 6'3", 310. He's added on weight. He was 290 last year. Only 7 pressures allowed this past season for Jacksonville State. 4 hurries, 1 sack on the season, 82.7 run blocking grade, 72.7 pass blocking grade, had over 900 snaps this past year for the Gamecocks. He's just incredibly impressive as an athlete. His ability to get out in space as a blocker on the run. He's got the athleticism to pull in the run game. I love that. He's really nasty for the position. He's got a wrestling background, and it shows. He wants to get physical at the point of attack. He knows how to use his hands to win the leverage battles, which I absolutely love to see. Yes, there are concerns about his play. He had some struggles against more powerful rushers, but I think he's a really good player. You saw him go up against Deion Walker at the Senior Bowl and shown really well. This is an undervalued prospect in this class with athletic traits, with athleticism to climb the second level, a great run blocker. I think he can develop. People forget this is a former 5-star prospect that the only reason he's not still at Georgia were because of off-field issues that haven't really been disclosed. I'm not worried about that at all. He's a really, really good player, and I think he should go in the 4th round. I'm taking it at 121. Here at pick number 153, I'm going to go with Tommi Hill, the cornerback out of Nebraska. Now, if you guys remember, the Cardinals drafted multiple defensive backs in last year's class. Max Melton, they drafted. Elijah Jones, Adrian Taylor-Demerson. I thought all those guys were fine. They need a boundary corner, though. Melton was solid as a rookie, but I think you could upgrade over Sean Murphy-Bunting. I think you could look to upgrade over Starling Thomas. And Tommi Hill is a player that I think is worth investing in it here in the 5th round because I think the tools are really, really intriguing. He's 6 foot, 210 pounds, nearly 34-inch arms, and almost an 80-inch wingspan. This guy has some really, really good size and length for the cornerback position, and he's a former wide receiver converted to a corner. He's incredible quick, really twitchy. I love his physicality and press man coverage. I love what he showed there. I think he's got good ball skills. Wide receiver background, does a good job of tracking the ball in the air. He's got quickness. I do think he needs to work on his footwork. He bit much on double moves. I thought he played really heavy on his feet at times, allowing players to get by him. Now, he is fast. I think he's got the speed to catch up, but I'd like to see him improve there, and I'd like to see him improve as a run defender. Really didn't come downhill, really didn't defend the run as much as you would like to see. I think he's worth a gamble, though. The athletic traits are certainly there. He's got the size you look for, and I think he can be a good player if developed properly. I'm going to take a flyer on him. I think he could be a nice corner, and I'm going to take him at 153. Here at pick number 159, I want to go get a slot receiver to kind of finish out my draft class. There's not really a slot on this team. Greg Dortch is a free agent, and I really liked what he did for this team. Thought he was one of the more underrated receivers in football. I definitely think you could look to upgrade that slot receiver spot, though. Kyle Williams out of Washington State, I think is incredible value. Now, I was hoping the John Tester out of Colorado. He ended up getting taken just a couple of picks earlier. Kyle Williams is my number 20 overall receiver in the draft class. I am absolutely infatuated with his game. Coming off an incredibly productive season for Wazoo, nearly 1,200 yards, 17 yards per reception, 14 touchdowns, had 5 drops on the season, so you'd like to see that improve ideally. He's 5'10", 182, so he's got the size to be a slot guy. Incredibly quick, shifty, nuanced route runner that ran a variety of different routes for the Cougars. Got a really good release package, quick off the line of scrimmage, and he's dynamic after the catch as well. Yes, he's not the biggest guy in the world. I don't think he's the most physical guy in the world, so you want him in the slot where he might have a little bit more of a free release. You're probably going to want to scheme this guy touch, but a third, fourth receiver on your team, I think Kyle Williams could be one of the more productive wide receiver threes in football. So I'm going to take a flyer on him at 159. I love his game, love his athletic traits, and I think he's going to be able to get open in the NFL. So he's going to be my final pick of this mock draft. So there we have it, Cardinals fans, my 7th-round Arizona Cardinals mock draft. I think this turned out really nice. We got one of my favorite slot receivers in the draft, developmental corner, improved the O-line and the defensive line in a bunch of different ways. And can you imagine Tuimoloau, Darius Robinson, and B.J. Ojulari all healthy next year? This could be a much improved Cardinals team. I think this is one of the best drafts we've done thus far. And I'd love to hear from you guys. Do you guys like it? Do you not? Let me know which picks you guys would have liked to see change down in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe if you are new. I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.